Everybody, welcome back to Mask of the Slasher. We are starting Josh-tober.
Yay! Josh Bember doesn't have the same ring to it.
No, it really doesn't. Josh Bember sounds like a weird skin disease.
It totally
or something.
does.
Yeah,
My Josh Bember's flaring up. Gotta go to the dermatologist.
Such a dork. Okay. Anyway, the reason is obviously because Josh's birthday is this month.
Woot woot.
It's usually around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So Thanksgiving is always combined with Josh's birthday.
Yep.
And it's because he likes food too.
I'm not mad about it. It's like a feast in my honor.
Yeah. The first movie that Josh picked for Josh-tober is, okay. It's Dark Night of the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
But I can't help but, yes, it's that. But I can't help but keep saying Dark Night of the Stormcrow, which is a black metal album from...
Check out Creebane if you
Yes.
never have.
I'll put the link in the description.
Excellent one-man band.
Yes, very nice man as well. So anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing. This movie is interesting, in my opinion. It's not, it's kind of strange to me. I had never heard of it prior to meeting Josh. I don't even know why this ended up on his radar at some point.
It's like a warm blanket movie for me. It's just something that when, it didn't come on TV often, but when it did, I feel like I always watched it with my grandparents.
Oh, well, that's why.
So, it just has special memories for me associated with it.
A lot of people really love this movie, and it's actually a good movie, good storyline. It just has its quirkiness.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It came out October 24th, 1981. And it was a TV movie, which is still really weird to me. I mean, of course, we grew up with these things.
Yeah.
It just seems very dark. But then I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, what other TV movies are out there? Well, It by Stephen King, Langoliers.
Yeah.
Hold on, I see. I've got other ones. Duel.
Right.
By Steven Spielberg, Salem's Lot, Trilogy of Terror, which scares Josh.
Yeah, that damn Zuni doll.
Yeah.
Nightmare fuel, baby.
Yeah, so...
We'll cover that one eventually.
Yes, because I've never watched it, so...
For a treat.
I bet. I'm sure it's delightful.
Hey, Karen Black's in it, at least.
Well, that's great, but we saw that doll.
Yes.
Where was it at?
Universal Studios. They had that little horror exhibit that one time we were there. I can't remember if that was our honeymoon or a different time.
Probably, yeah. And Josh nearly pooped his pants.
Yeah.
Made-for-TV movies, obviously they're a little bit more tame.
Yeah.
They leave a lot for your imagination to figure out because they can't show gore and shit.
Right.
And so that's essentially this movie. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be filmed in 18 days, but they got cut one short because of a fire.
Interesting.
And it shows.
It's a quick turnaround.
Yeah. It was filmed out in the middle of nowhere, but also not far from Magic Mountain in Southern California.
Okay.
So
it looks like California.
Yeah. It just like Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
There's just some California hills.
Yep.
Wildfires.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. Is dry brush and wildfires.
It's a dry movie. It's a dry
It is.
movie.
Dry and hot.
Yeah.
It is a hot one.
So Dark Night of the Scarecrow, for those not familiar, as Krista mentioned, is a TV movie. It stars Charles Durning as Otis the Evil Mailman. You might know him from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? He played Pappy O'Daniel in that movie. And then he was also in Dick Tracy. I believe he was the police chief. But correct me if I'm wrong on that. But he was in tons of things before he died. He has tons of credits. And then you have Larry Drake, plays Bubba. He was in Law and Order. Or no, is that right? No, not Law and Order. L.A. Law. He was in L.A. Law, sorry. He also was Dr. Giggles in Dr. Giggles, which I've actually never seen, but I remember seeing ads for it all the time when it came out for some reason.
Yeah.
And then also he was the villain in Darkman, which is a very underrated superhero film that also starred Liam Neeson, oddly enough.
Oh.
Yeah, so those two are the two known people in the movie. Larry Drake plays Bubba. He is a mentally challenged person. He basically has the mentality of a child, and he is seen playing with a little girl named Mary Lee in this movie. And Otis, the evil mailman, is suspicious of him, really only, I think, because he's different.
Yes.
And for no other reason than that.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, unfortunately.
These days,
yeah. Very, very familiar. A little
Yeah.
too familiar. And, of course, Otis has this gang of rednecks that are his cronies, basically.
The dumb townspeople.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So you've got Harless, Skeeter, who for some weird reason wears a polka dot lady's gardening hat.
Yeah, we don't understand that one. What I said was, I was like, oh, he has to be the quirky one.
Yeah.
So not only is his name Skeeter,
Right.
because that's a fun name,
Right.
but then he gets the dumb hat,
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I don't understand the woman's gardening hat, but whatever, he's got it. And then you've got Philby, the fat guy,
Yeah.
with heart problems.
Yep. It was fitting. It kind of worked out for him in that.
So Mary Lee and Bubba are playing together. They're walking. They see they see through a fence a little garden area that's got gnomes and various cute, quirky things in it. Mary Lee decides she needs to go in. She gets attacked by a dog while she's in there. Bubba saves her life, but when he brings Mary Lee wounded to Mary Lee's mom, everybody just jumps to, oh, he attacked her, you know.
And he couldn't really convey correctly what happened. He just said Bubba didn't mean to hurt her, or something along those lines, as opposed to saying, so she went through a fence and a dog attacked her,
right?
wasn't me.
Right,
Yeah.
So Bubba flees the scene, obviously, and, runs to his mom, who is played by Marlon Brando's sister. And I can't remember. I think it's Jocelyn, maybe?
Something
Jocelyn
like that.
Brando, I think.
I'll put it on the screen.
Yeah. And, of course, she tells him to hide. So he disguises himself as a scarecrow out in their field. Well, Otis and his gang of evil rednecks come to the house. They start searching for him, realize that he is, in fact, disguised as the scarecrow, and they shoot him. Murder him in cold blood. And then they try to make it look, in the most unconvincing way ever, that he was threatening them with a pitchfork.
Yeah, I'm just going to place this pitchfork here because that looks scary.
Exactly.
Now, I think it's funny that in these kinds of movies, there's always hounds.
Yeah.
You always have to have some hounds just barking. And I just felt bad watching those hounds in this movie because that was really giving a shit about animals.
Right.
So I'm just watching them just keep yanking them. And I'm like, oh, those poor little floppy bastards. They were so cute, though.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, those people didn't deserve them.
The evil rednecks go on trial. Of course they get off because the DA doesn't have enough evidence, which I don't know how you don't have evidence. They clearly shot him.
Yes.
Clearly killed him in cold blood. But.
Well, I mean, at the same time, there was no witnesses.
Right.
And back then, they weren't really looking at, like, not that this movie's this deep by any means, but, bullets, they leave a certain mark on them, and so they could match them up with the gun that was shot with,
Right.
So, but obviously, this town is not that complex, you know. It's just going to be based on being judgy and kind of shitty to people.
Exactly.
So, and a lot of people didn't like Bubba because of him being mentally challenged, and it was just stupid.
Yeah.
Which is a lot like Frankenstein. I was thinking about this. I was like, why is this so familiar? I mean, obviously it has the Of Mice and Men situation, but also Frankenstein because he is not educated. He can't really convey his thoughts, and he didn't mean to hurt that little girl.
Right.
Well, it's not Frankenstein. It's the monster of Frankenstein. Don't come after me. So anyway, so they're getting their judgment.
Yes.
And it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And the judge isn't even wearing a gown.
Yeah, I thought that was odd. Yeah.
Didn't have it in the budget.
No.
Maybe the gown set on fire.
And
Maybe that's what happened.
you think, like, for a murder trial, there'd be a jury.
Yes.
But they're in the world's tiniest courtroom with no jury, just the judge.
Yeah, just the judge is making that decision.
So I was like, I don't know. But anyway, they get off, whatever. And they're just super happy about it. Celebrating that they killed this guy and got off, which is just disgusting.
Yeah.
But they get theirs, you know. They really get theirs. They start dying one by one under mysterious circumstances.
But creative
circumstances. And a lot's left to the imagination during these parts, which I like a lot, actually, because I think it adds to the atmosphere of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a good way of, like, I guess, disguising the movie's flaws and playing to its strengths. You know what I mean? Because clearly they had no budget for this thing. Thing, you know, it was filmed in 18 days. So I think the director did a really good job of being creative with the kills, but still leaving a lot to the imagination and giving it a nice creepy atmosphere when it needed to be. Yeah. You know, for instance, Harless, he falls into a wood chipper under mysterious circumstances. One of the guys is chased by something, locks himself into a silo, which, of course, mysteriously the silo starts to the machinery comes on and starts to fill with grain, and he drowns in grain, essentially.
And just so you know, folks, I won't say where or how, but Josh knows about farm equipment.
Yes.
And he had to have, what was it called?
It's like a grain bin safety week, basically, for silos and grain bins.
This actually happens to
people. Yeah,
it
does happen. People fall in, and you know, you can't, it's like quicksand almost.
Yeah, and it's so heavy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was actually a very realistic death in that sense. Because didn't he jump down there to hide, but he couldn't get out?
Well, he locked himself in to get away, and then he couldn't get out, and then the machinery started up, of course. So.
And I have to say that what is it, the line thing that was bringing up the grain, that was a very small amount compared to what was being dumped in.
Right. And this is where, you know, some good directing, I think, comes in, and good cinematography, because there's a part here where, like, you can see, like, the camera's facing up and it starts to get covered in grain to sort of, you know, replicate what this guy's going through when he's getting buried by this grain, and just little things like that throughout the movie. There's some good shots. Like, there's a scene where, you know, where the guys first start to realize something's going on after they've killed Bubba, and there's a scene where it's just this barren field, and there's the Scarecrow out in the middle of it, and the Scarecrow is really far away in the distance, and then there's just this huge barren field, and I just think that's a great looking shot, just a really creepy during the day shot, you know.
Well, yeah, and it was off season for them to be doing any sort of farming.
Yep.
And so it was strange that there just happened to be the Scarecrow out in the field. And that's how you basically knew it was basically the death call.
Yeah.
It was like, oh shit, there's a Scarecrow.
Yeah, if you see it, that's it.
And you're done.
in for it.
You've got 5 days to live. And he calls you up and lets you know that. Yeah.
So the walls are closing in on these guys. Everybody's getting paranoid, you know.
Yeah.
They think it's the DA messing with them, basically.
Well, they just keep going through who it could possibly be.
Yeah, exactly.
But the ringleader is the stupid mailman.
Yeah.
The mailman who never wears anything but a mail.
Clothes.
Yeah, and he lives at a boarding house. I'm like, you know, he got paid well enough.
Exactly.
Maybe because he didn't have woman folk.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, he's the instigator of it all and the ringleader, and he keeps saying, "Well, no, it's this person. Well, no, it's this person," and it's like. And everybody's like, bro, you know, it's Bubba, you know.
Exactly.
Then they go and open up his grave.
Yeah, and of course he's in there, which they don't show because TV movie.
Yeah.
But it's implied that he's still in there. And of course, at that point, Otis kills Skeeter because he wants to turn himself in for this. You know, he's racked with guilt. As there's always, in these movies, there's always one in the group that's racked with guilt, you know, so.
Well, yeah, it's the goofy guy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always the goofy one, yeah.
Kind of like in I Spit on Your Grave.
Yes.
Yeah. So he kills Skeeter, buries him in there with Bubba's corpse in the same grave, and then finally, you know, Mary Lee's been talking to Bubba's spirit this whole time. We should mention probably here, and along the way, Bubba's mom gets killed by Otis. He startles her, and she has a heart attack, and then he blows her house up because.
I mean, a heart attack looks pretty natural to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
and obviously these you know, the investigations into these crimes were super inept, so I don't think he really had to worry about them finding his fingerprints or you know, anything like that in the house. He probably didn't really need to blow the house up.
No, and it blew their budget too.
Exactly. I think that's where all the budget went, was that explosion.
Yeah, maybe that's the fire that they had.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Could very well be. Yeah. So finally, Otis. It's time for him to get his comeuppance here, and you know, he's driving away from killing Skeeter. There's Mary Lee standing in the middle of the road. He stops, gets out, and chases her. Or no, he wrecks the car. He wrecks the
Jeep.
He wrecks the
mail Jeep.
Yeah, he wrecks the mail Jeep, which I'm sure that's some kind of federal crime to be using.
Not like you're going to get a replacement
property for that
soon.
for that type of activity. But anyway, chases Mary Lee out to the field. And sure enough, you know, there's just a piece of farm machinery sitting out there. It's like a
you said it has discs on it.
Yeah, it looked like a disking implement to me. I'm not sure, you know, I know enough about farm to be dangerous.
Yeah.
Put it that way. It's it's like a tractor with a farm implement attached to it. That comes on by itself and starts chasing him
in the slowest manner possible.
Yeah. As you said, it's a little Austin Powers steamroller situation.
It really was.
I feel like he could have ran out of its path pretty easily.
Yeah.
Anyway, chases him right to the Scarecrow, which he runs towards it and gets impaled by the pitchfork.
That was conveniently placed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, this whole movie, you've been waiting to see this Scarecrow move. You know, and then finally at the end you see him, and it is the Scarecrow possessed by Bubba's spirit, and he goes to play with Mary Lee, and it's more or less a happy ending in that respect.
Essentially,
and that he got his revenge, and he gets to be with her.
Well, and you know,
his only friend.
She's not going to have any childhood trauma ever. First of all, because when she got attacked by the dog, she passed out essentially, and everybody thought she had died.
Right.
And so then they go and kill Bubba. And then find out she didn't die. And they're like, oh, shit, you know. Yep. And nobody feels like they need to tell her that he died.
Right.
And so she's, like he said, he's been talking to the spirit and whatever, and just has this feeling that Bubba's around and tries to go and talk to his mom about it. And it's like, no, I know where he is, and blah, blah, blah. And his mom is trying to explain that, you know, bro's gone.
Yeah.
But it's a little girl.
Yeah.
So it's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know that he died. Then he was murdered, and she finds that out.
Right.
Because she's very suspicious of Otis.
Yeah.
Because he tried being all creepy at the school
that's
dance.
right. He was creeping on her, and he says, "I know what you did to Bubba. He told me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and creepy old man at the school dance
Right.
is kind of...
Yep.
He was kind of pervy himself, I
yeah.
think. And I think that was kind of implied.
Well, yeah, because Bubba's mom says, "I see how you look at that little girl," and kind of implying that even though I think really he was just kind of obsessed with her because of everything that had happened, and he had it in for Bubba, and she was his friend, you know. So.
Yeah. Now, something else I noticed is that Marilee was pronounced multiple ways in this movie. It was Marilee, and then like they divided the words at one point. It was just like, do we not know what this girl is called?
Right.
Did you not read the script long enough to know what her name is? It was just really funny to me because I feel like there was a Marilou in there maybe, and it was just ridiculous. But yeah, it's a good story. It's one of those situations of, you know, don't judge by its cover.
Right.
And, you know, Bubba was probably the nicest, most innocent person.
Yeah, he was the only nice person in that whole town except for maybe his mom.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. And so, heaven forbid, you know, you just let the nice person be.
Yeah.
So, but maybe it's because Otis was jealous because all he had was a male uniform to wear.
And lived in a boarding house.
Yes, and was an alcoholic.
Yeah, and was an alcoholic, yes. So.
And alcohol was not allowed in the boarding house.
Yep.
So he was sneaking.
Yep, he was.
And now something else that's funny is we were talking about like the actual post office that he works at. You'll notice in the movie that he's behind the counter sorting mail, talking to his bros.
Yeah.
And we have seen all of maybe 5, 6 people in this whole town.
Right.
But there is a vast amount of sorting boxes, and I'm like, no, there should just be 5.
Yeah,
just 5.
And my favorite part, like in there, is when when they, you know, where they're gonna go hunt down, they're getting ready to go hunt down Bubba, and he pulls open the door to get his pistol, and it's this huge drawer, and the only thing in it is that damn tiny pistol rattling around in this enormous drawer.
It's like, you could have hid it under some paper.
Put some files in there or something, and have him pull it out. I said that
stamps, envelopes, something, you know.
Seriously.
Yeah, I mean. 17 days.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
Small budget.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good story for people to watch because it's just be nice.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just be nice. Or they'll come after you.
Exactly.
Anybody you've wronged, they come after you.
Karma.
As a scarecrow.
That's right.
Woo! So, yeah, and you said you watched this when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And then we went to a horror convention. Was it the one in Long Beach?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was CreatureCon or the one in Long Beach, but either way, I can't remember the name of that particular vendor, but they had this shirt, and I was just like, it just triggered, you know, in my memory, because I hadn't really thought about that movie in a long time. I was like, oh my God, they have a Dark Night of the Scarecrow shirt, and so of course I had to buy it, and that just kind of rekindled my love of the movie, because all that memory came back of me watching it with my grandparents and stuff when I was a kid, so...
Well, and you know, when doing the research for this movie, there was not a lot out there about it.
It's not. Yeah, it's not.
It's not super common.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool in a way. You can buy it on DVD and Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It was released, I think it was back in the early 2000s, something like that. It's been re-released about 3 times.
Yeah.
So you can definitely find it out there. But because I was lazy and didn't want to walk the 20 feet to get the DVD, we just watched it. Was it on Hulu?
I think, either Hulu or Peacock, one of those two, yeah.
So
it's out there.
You can find it. It's a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's one of those who know kind of situations. Because I've actually worn this around and gotten compliments at conventions and stuff. So there is a small, there's this little tiny cult following of people who know this movie. And probably people who had the same experience as I did watching it, you know, just randomly seeing it when you were a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So I have a question for folks, and I'm hoping you guys can help me with this, because I've tried to do some research and I have failed. But when we were talking about these made-for-TV movies, we were talking about like the creature features that used to be on like Saturday night after 10, you know, like the stuff that Elvira did and whatever. But those have been going on a very long time. And my own mother remembers them coming on when she lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico back in like the 50s.
Yeah.
And they were all based out of a local channel.
Right.
You know, each one had their own thing.
Yeah, it's depending on where you lived is what horror host you had. You know, like Vampiro was West Coast. You had Zachary on the East Coast, and then there's a wealth of other ones too. Obviously, Elvira came a little later on, but you know.
So if you remember what these were, who they were, if you can give me a link or something, because I would really like to do some more research on these. I think they're very interesting. I never watched them, but maybe one time. And it was usually because the movies were in black and white.
Yeah.
And I was a kid, and I just didn't want to watch black and white movies.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting, too. It kind of carried on, like, when TBS, they had Grandpa from the Monsters on Saturday mornings host a show like that, too, so.
Yeah, which is strange. Yeah. In the morning. Yeah. So, I just am curious about these things. And if you remember made-for-TV movies that you were just like, holy shit, how is this even out there?
Yeah.
Because although an incredibly boring movie, by the way, I'm still going by that, it's still pretty...
scary when you're a kid and seeing
terrifying.
it, all due to Tim Curry's brilliant performance in that movie, of course. But yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, that actually, I don't find clowns scary now, but when I was a kid, that kind of freaked me out a little bit because he was, even though I knew who Tim Curry was because I was cool like that.
Yeah.
It was still just his performance. It's just, oh my gosh.
Were you watching Rocky Horror when you were like 5?
No, I knew who he was because I had a cool mom.
Oh, okay. That's how I knew him, was Rocky Horror and The Worst Witch. So... but yeah, I'm curious to know what you folks think of this movie. Have you ever seen it, heard of it, know anything about it? And if you haven't watched it before, go watch it.
Yeah. And
let us know what you think of it, because I'm really curious.
Yeah, it's got a great story, great atmosphere, and kind of like I said earlier, I'm sorry I don't remember who directed this movie, but
it's Frank De Felitta.
Oh, he directed it as well?
That's what it says. He also directed The Entity.
Oh, okay.
I'm butchering his name. I'm sorry, but you know.
Well, whatever the case, they just did a great job, like I said, of playing to the strengths that they had and hiding the flaws or disguising the flaws. And I just think it turned out to be a really good movie. I mean, is it going to shatter your world? Probably not, but it's just a really fun and well-made movie for what it is, I think, Well,
and I think that this is something that even kids could watch.
Yeah.
You were more mature when you were a child, so you could handle some stuff, and that's why his mom let him watch a lot of these things, because she knew that he wouldn't be a weenie.
Yeah.
Except for the Trilogy of Terror, apparently. And Stripe from Gremlins.
Well, if my mom hadn't told me that my Stripe action figure came to life at night, I probably would have been okay.
So
thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, God, it's so funny. So yeah, I just want to know what people think of it, and let your kids see it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I think this is fine for family
I think
watch.
it's a good story for a kid. Be nice to people.
Be nice to people and don't judge them because they're different than you.
Exactly. Good stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I think that's it for today.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to continue Joshtober for the rest of the month. So I'm not giving away the fun stuff that we have planned, but we're going to be around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll see you next time. Bye.